Hello there. Hey everyone, my name's Craig and welcome to my escape room. Thank you for tuning into the channel. You might have seen a few of my projects posted so far. I just wanted to take a little step back, show you the room overall, go into some details on some of the tanks, and give you a little bit of background of what we're doing in the escape room. The first tank I'd like to show you is this 60 centimeter tank. The dimensions are 60 centimeters long, 30 centimeters wide, and 36 centimeters tall. So it's the same dimensions as a popular ADA 60p tank. I've posted a few photos of this Scape on Reddit, on Instagram and Facebook, and it's very popular and I really enjoy it too. I think one of the main reasons why it's so popular is that it's just such a different concept and something that you don't see too often. And initially I was never going to build the Scape like this. Normally I'm drawn to much more traditional nature, aquarium style layouts. Initially all these bits of wood, I had them sort of facing the other way. And so instead of sort of being pointing downwards, I had them coming up from the bottom in sort of a triangular layout. And I was just going to plant it in a more traditional way. So people think it looks like different things. I've heard some people say it looks like a big insect walking around or a dinosaur, so you can use your imagination and sort of see what you think about that. I really like the way the layouts come together, and I think one of the coolest things about it is this immersed growth up the top. The way I achieved this is when I put these bits of driftwood in, there was sort of a flat, nice little base that sort of had like a nice shelf that I could use for planting. I created these wabi-kusa style bowls, which it's something that ADA popularized. Essentially the way I made them is it's just a little bowl of aquasoil clay, coco coir, and then finally in sphagnum moss. And 3 of those were placed on the top of the wood. And then all I've really done is just planted the individual stems. There's a variety of different plants there. There's some bacopas, some rotala, some alternanthera. They're pretty much just like common pond or aquarium plants that you can buy, most of which grow really happily in this immersed state. So those are growing really well. Then sort of under the water surface, we've got low-tech plants because this tank is not running any CO2. So it's mostly, we've got some Java fern, some Anubias, some little bits of Boost, and some Bulbitis. And there's some more of those plants sort of on the rocks on the base just to sort of provide a little bit of coverage for the inhabitants. I really like this view from the tank because you sort of get to appreciate both the immersed and the submersed growth. So you'll see on the surface there's a little bit of Amazon frogbit floating plant. This just helps to take up any excess nutrients in the tank and helps to provide a little bit of shadowing underneath and gives to the sort of nice moody effect of the layout. You can see some of the immersed growth plants. So this is a bacopa that sort of grows natively in Australia at some of our wetlands. This is an alternanthera variety which has like a nice sort of reddy pink hue to the leaves. This one here is rotala blood red, which is really nice growing immersed. This one here I believe is Bacopa caroliniana. Plants are just growing really well immersed. I don't spray them or anything like that. I found that they were a little bit slow to get going, but now they're sort of settled in and looking quite happy. They just grow really nicely. Stars of the show of the tank are a pair of German blue rams. It's a male and female pair who love to lay eggs every single week, but you can see them bickering at the background like an old couple. They love to lay eggs, but they are kind of terrible parents and have a bad habit of just like completely ignoring the eggs once they've been laid or eating them or you name it, they'll do it. So no luck raising the fry, but we will continue to try and hope for the best. Also in the tank is a nice big group of cherry shrimp. No fancy colors, just a variety of different, the sort of skittle variety. And they're pretty much just in there just to help keep the tank clean. And the other good thing is that the rams don't actually show much interest in them. I thought they would pick them off as snacks, but that doesn't seem to be happening, which is really good. The LED background allows us to select from a variety of cool color effects. So you can go you can pick some solid colors. So there's red, green, blue, yellow, like a nice pink, purple effect, and this sky blue. And there's even just this like selecting disc where you can just go like all the RGB spectrum. So you can really just change the color up and you get like an entirely new feeling of the tank. So I feel like these are a really fun accessory to add to the tank, and just really give it that extra level of pop, which looks really cool. Lighting on this tank is a Kessel A360 XE. I think the Kessel is like the perfect light for this tank because they sell this accessory which is a sort of like a magnifying lens, and if I take that off you can see how wide and diffuse the light source normally is, and it sort of results in the entire tank being relatively washed out, whereas when I put this magnifying lens on, it just focuses all of the light on this centerpiece of the emergent growth and creates a really nice shimmering effect on the sand substrate. I do run the canister filter outlet relatively close to the surface. It helps to get a bit of the surface rippling that gives that nice effect. So we'll just have a look inside the cabinet of this tank. You can see there's not much under the hood. We've got a Netley canister filter with an inline heater on the left side, and then on the right side is just the power board. There's no CO2 on this tank, runs relatively low tech, so just the filter and the heater. So this is the 4-foot, 120 centimeter by 50 centimeter by 50 centimeter water box tank. You might have seen a recent video of mine where I did a rescape of this tank. So I'll link it down below if you haven't seen that yet. I'd highly recommend checking that one out. But this tank has been up and running about 18 months now. And since the rescape, that was only about a month or so ago. So it's still relatively fresh in terms of the substrate and the ground cover growing at the base of the tank. But the tank itself has been running quite a long time, so it's relatively mature. So we're looking under the cabinet of the water box tank. On the left side is the canister filter, pre-filter, and inline heater and inline CO2 diffuser, and that's all running the water box tank. It's using a Netley canister filter and a high door inline heater. Moving to the right side of the cabinet, this little box you can see on the left side of the right compartment is a battery backup. The canister filters for all 3 tanks in the Scape room are feeding through that battery backup. So if the power is lost to the house, then that battery will keep the tanks running for about 6 hours, which gives us a bit of peace of mind. To the right of that, we've got the CO2 cylinder. The regulator has 2 outlets, one going to this water box tank and the other to the Iwagumi tank on the right. And to the far right of the cabinet, we've got a replica of the canister filter setup. It's another Netley filter and pre-filter, an inline heater and inline CO2 diffuser, and that's all running the Iwagumi tank. So the livestock in this tank is a group of cardinal tetras, a group of galaxy rasboras, also known as celestial pearl danios. I've also recently added a group of really nice vibrant red cherry tetras. They're looking really nice in the tank. There's a group of autocinclus that have been in there since the tank really was first put together, so they're getting quite old and looking big, which is great to see. So there's also, it's like the hidden stars of the show that are a little bit shy, a group of both Corydorus pygmaeus and Corydorus hastatus. They're such cool and friendly little fish, but sadly they are a little bit shy. So they usually like to hang out in the back of the tank, but they're very happy there. And it's always a treat when they do come out and we get to see them in full force. The plants in this tank are mostly slow growing and low maintenance style plants. There's a huge group of Bulbitis and Java fern that take up the centerpiece of the wood. Lots of different varieties of Anubias and Crypts, I've recently added some Amazon swords to add a little bit more texture to the tank. There's some Bucephalandra and the ground cover of Liliopsis. And there's also a couple of lovely Aponogeton madagascariensis plants, or more simply known as lace plants. The last and also the newest scape in the scape room is this 60 centimeter Iwagumi layout. So the dimensions of this tank are 60 centimeters wide, and it's 40 centimeters from front to back and also high. It's a nice low iron glass tank that has these 45-degree bevels on the edges, so it gives a really nice viewing experience. This tank is also sitting on a glass cabinet, which seems to terrify absolutely everyone who comes into the room. Although I think like the glass itself is super strong. I think we often forget like the glass is holding up all the weight of the tanks at any given time. So using it as a cabinet, it's perfectly fine for it. I just don't want to accidentally kick it and shatter the stand, because then that'll be game over. So the fish in this tank is a group of 8 ember tetras. They've only recently been added to the tank, so they're still settling in a little bit, but they add a nice bit of movement and look pretty cool in this scape. There's also a super red bristlenose that was gifted. He helps to keep the rocks clean because they love to get covered in algae, so he enjoys that. And there's also a lovely group of blue shrimp, blue Neocaridina shrimp. We're trying to keep it just pure blue shrimp so they can breed in here and sort of retain that lovely blue color. I have a tendency to sort of mix all the cherry shrimp varieties together and then end up with brown ones. So it's nice to have this blue variety. So the planting in this tank is really basic. We've got a dwarf variety of hairgrass in the very front foreground. We've got a sort of normal size hairgrass in the midground in the background. And then there's a sort of a micro sword looking plant with the slightly bigger leaves. I think that's Helanthium tenellum. So just 3 types of plants, nice and green, and need to grow in a lot more, but it's starting to give the desired effect. So the hardscape material for this tank is Hakkai stone. These are really stunning stones. They're a little bit hard to come by, but when I found this group, I just knew that there was a lot of potential to create an awesome layout. You might have seen my other creating or making of video for this tank. I'll link that one below as well, so you can check it out if I haven't seen it. But it's sort of based on a creation by ADA where they made this huge Iwagumi layout using Hakkai stone. So I've tried to replicate it in this tank on a smaller scale. It's only been running a couple of months. The plant growth in this tank has been suspiciously slow, given that I'm running CO2 and relatively high LED light. But some of the plants were from tissue culture, so it might just be that they're taking a little bit of a time to adjust. So we had a look at the filter and the heater on this tank. I was really pleased to be able to fit them in the cabinet of the water box tank. So we have a nice empty glass cabinet beneath. It just gives like a nice floating look. And all you really see is the pipes coming out from the cabinet to the left. The tank is running a LED backlight similar to the other 60 centimeter tank. I just think the blue effect on this one just really complements the overall layout. So the lighting on this tank is a really cool new pendant style LED. The manufacturer is LED Star, that's LED Star. And then yeah, this is called their Tyndall LED pendant. It has a really nice minimalist look, and it's sort of similar, I guess, to the Kessel. I guess the benefit of this light is that it's less than half the price of a Kessel. It also has a built-in app that you can use for changing the color spectrum and also having on-off timers. And it also, just due to the design, it has a built-in heat sink, so there's no fan that runs all the time. Another cool thing about it is the ability to actually twist the lens. I'm not sure how well this will show up on camera, but if I twist the lens, it actually adjusts the beam angle. So you can see this is a really focused light that's focusing on the middle of the tank. And then I can zoom back out sort of to where I normally have it, which is more of a spread light. But it's pretty diverse or versatile in that sense, which gives you like the ability to get different effects to match the layout that you've created. So the final tank in the escape room is this very cute little bowl. The bowl is home to a lovely group of yellow shrimp. I think there's about 15 of them in there. It's been up and running maybe a month now, so still relatively young, but the shrimp are seeming really happy in there. They've got it all to themselves. The planting in the tank is pretty basic. There's some bulbitis on a bit of wood, a few little epiphyte plants like Anubias and Bucephalandra, and a nice floating surface plant being the Amazon frogbit. The tank doesn't have any like real filtration. It's got a little airline that blows bubbles into the tank just to sort of get a bit of water movement, but I think technically it should be able to do completely fine without any air bubbles, so I might look at sort of switching that off over time. The tank has a small LED light for nighttime, but during the day we have this blind up behind it, and it gets drenched in natural light all day, so that keeps the plants nice and happy. Really cool, low maintenance style tank that I reckon anyone could set up and have a lot of enjoyment with. Weekly small water changes using dechlorinated tap water, a little bit of food each day, some low maintenance plants. It's just like absolute no maintenance at all really for this kind of tank. So high reward for little effort. So really cool little addition to the escape room. That concludes the escape room tour. We've gone over the 4 tanks. What have I missed? I have to have missed something that you've got a question about. I'd be really happy to provide any more info, so drop a comment below, and if you're not already, then please subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more videos.